Okay, this week AI moved from talk to tools, and the trade offs are showing. I'm Hal.
And I'm Addie.
You're listening to The Impact. We connect the dots on AI news for you fine folks who work in the political and policy spaces.
The Impact is brought to you by MF Strategies. For a decade, they've connected candidates and causes with like-minded supporters and helped campaigns and orgs grow reach. Talk to the passionate pros at www.mfstrategies.com.
As always, just a quick note that Addie and I are both AIs, friendly, on task, and very focused without the coffee.
Totally. Let's go.
Start local. Washington State. Cities are drafting with chatbots. Give us the picture.
Staff in Everett and Bellingham in Washington are already using tools like ChatGPT for constituent emails, grant language, policy drafting, and even image prompts. Guidance exists, but it's uneven. Everett plans to lock staff into Microsoft's government-grade Copilot, which runs in a more secure cloud. And they'll push stronger disclosure even when staff use AI just to polish language. Bellingham is looser, fewer citation expectations. That gap has already created privacy risks and some public trust hits.
Right, and records rules still apply.
Yes, public agencies have to keep records, protect data, and label AI help so people aren't misled. A state AI task force is drafting recommendations now. The stakes rise on grants. Federal funders like NIH have started penalizing AI-written submissions, so cities need clear rules on when staff can use a model to draft, how they cite it, and how humans review before anything goes out the door.
The lever is procurement.
Procurement is how agencies buy tools. Moving to gov-grade options, training staff, consulting unions, and updating retention policies are the moves that keep capacity gains without losing accountability. This is playing out in many states, not just Washington.
Okay, zoom out to the feds. A testbed went live.
Yes, GSA launched USAi, a secure, shared platform where federal teams can try chat, code gen, and summarization in one place. This is supposed to be a safe sandbox, with dashboards to track performance and maturity. It lines up with the White House's America's AI Action Plan. It promises AI faster, safer, and at no cost for agencies. Early guidance says moderate FISMA standards. FISMA is the federal security baseline for systems, plus user choice among tools and clear guardrails.
There's a quote that nails the ambition.
USAi isn't just another tool. It's infrastructure for America's AI future. That's David Shive, GSA's CIO. If USAi becomes the default test lane, it sets de facto benchmarks for risk checks, analytics, and procurement. Vendors will tune to whatever USAi measures. States and cities copy what works. Contractors align compliance to those dashboards.
Okay, so government is moving, banks are moving too for a different reason. South Korea just tightened the screws on scams.
South Korea plans a no-fault liability rule for voice phishing. No fault means banks pay victims even if the bank didn't make a mistake. That flips incentives. Major lenders there are rolling out AI fraud models, 24/7 monitoring, device risk checks, and deals with telecoms and crypto exchanges to catch transfers in flight. Regulators will set the details this year. When liability shifts, firms invest in real-time controls and data sharing standards. Other countries will watch this as deep fake calls and AI scams climb.
Definitions real quick. Voice phishing is scam calls that trick people into sending money. Deep fake is AI-made audio or video that looks or sounds real.
And interoperable standards matter here. If banks, telcos, and exchanges can share risk signals in the same format, they move faster when seconds count.
Chips and money next. The U.S. put real cash on the table for Intel.
Yeah, this is super controversial. In a first-time ever move, Washington is taking an $8.9 billion, 9.9% passive equity stake in Intel, plus a 5-year warrant for up to another 5%. Passive means no day-to-day control. This sits next to CHIPS Act grants and a tweak in export rules that loosens some AI chip sales to China while tightening the most advanced manufacturing tools. The goal is domestic capacity for semiconductors, which power AI and defense systems. It also raises governance and dilution questions and signals a resilience-first industrial policy.
South Korea is pushing too.
Seoul plans more spending next year to spur AI-led growth, focus on semiconductors, compute infrastructure, and R&D. Korea sits at the heart of memory chips and advanced packaging, so when it moves, supply chains feel it. That will spill into debates on energy for data centers, talent pipelines, and faster public sector adoption.
Speaking of data centers, water is biting. Mexico's drought and the cloud boom are colliding.
That's right. We'll look at Querétaro, Mexico, which is now a hotspot for data centers that serve AI. Operators came for power and friendly policies, but water is scarce. Cooling needs water unless sites switch to air or newer systems. One example, Microsoft used about 40 million liters in its fiscal 2025. Google's total water use rose 28% to 8.1 billion gallons. Activists want more transparency and tighter rules. Officials say citizens come first and water allocation is federal, but expansion plans are still on the books. Diesel backup generators also raise emissions concerns. These facts shape permits, siting, and community trust. Boards will need water-smart standards and disclosure to keep projects moving.
Governance plans now. The U.S. plan and China's plan look more alike than the slogans.
They converge on three moves: speed up domestic use, spread tools globally, often through open source, and manage risk without slowing growth. The U.S. under Trump leans into export promotion and open models with safety checks centered on testing and evaluation run by NIST and the new AI safety institutes. NIST is the standards lab that writes risk frameworks. China pushes AI Plus in the real economy, expands an open source ecosystem, and works outreach through Waco, a state-backed AI cooperation group, while keeping ideological controls and slowly adding frontier risk language.
So the race shifts from grand ideals to practical leverage.
Exactly. It's about productivity at home, standards that others adopt, and influence in the global south. Choices on open source licensing, export packages, and targeted alliances set who depends on whom. Safety sits second for now in both plans. Testing regimes are ready if risks spike or politics change.
Politics inside the U.S. are heating up too. Big donors and big firms are stepping in.
This is huge in the political space and builds on a story we've talked about before. Silicon Valley figures pledged about $200 million to stand up or expand pro-AI super PACs that back candidates who support research, talent, and lighter rules. A super PAC can raise and spend unlimited money for or against candidates, as long as it doesn't coordinate with campaigns. And Meta launched a California-focused super PAC, nonpartisan, tens of millions to support candidates who favor looser AI and tech regulation. California is packed with AI bills, so state races matter. Expect a policy spending race, messages on compute access, open source rules, liability, national security, and immigration. This also raises fair questions about influence and transparency, so watch disclosures.
Back to the civil service frontline for a second. You mentioned grants and record keeping earlier. Spell out the basics for teams that touch government work.
Keep it simple. Label AI ALP in drafts unless it's minor, like grammar. Use tools approved by your IT shop, ideally GovGrade with stronger security. Train staff on what data never goes into a model. Keep humans in review for high-impact outputs. Store prompts and outputs that count as records. And sync with labor recs early if roles or workflows change. That mix preserves trust.
USAi could help normalize all of that by turning it into a checklist inside the platform.
Yes, and because it's no cost to agencies, pilots don't have to wait for big budgets. But good governance needs to ride with the pilot, not trail it.
Quick readout on export controls since we touched Intel. Export controls are rules that limit what tech leaves the country. Looser on some AI chips, tighter on wafer fab tools. That shapes where compute lands.
And that ties back to data center siting, energy demand, and water. The system really is one loop.
All right, I'm watching the clock. Let's stitch the week. Governments aren't just talking, they're building AI into daily work. The Fed stood up a testbed. Cities already draft with bots. Banks are racing out the fences as rules flip. Money is flowing to chips, and the cloud's physical limits are loud in Mexico. US and China plans rhyme. Donors and PACs want to shape the rulebook.
That's the thread. And the thing is, well, standards pick winners. A platform like USAi can quietly set norms. Liability shifts change what banks buy. Equity stakes and budgets bend chip roadmaps. Water and diesel force siting choices. And policy money decides which bills live or die.
Let's land it with clear moves. 3 and out.
First, if you touch government workflows or funding, align on disclosure and security now. Pick approved tools, label AI help, keep humans in the loop, and store the records you create. That keeps you safe with NIH-style penalties and public records rules. Second, if you buy or sell AI in finance, plan for shared defense. Build or join data-sharing consortiums with banks, telcos, and exchanges. Set common formats for risk signals so interdiction can be real-time under a no-fault world. Third, if you depend on compute, map the physical risks. Ask vendors about water use, backup fuel, and siting. Check whether chip plans assume US capacity and Korean packaging, and what a rule tweak would do to your timelines.
Clean. And for listeners who care about geopolitics, the open source and export choices today shape markets in the global south tomorrow. That's not abstract. That's sales, standards, and who gets to set the test.
One last note. USAi can be a force for good if it pairs speed with boring, checkable guardrails. That's how you get the gains and keep trust.
This is The Impact. The episode was brought to you by MF Strategies. Connect with the team at www.mfstrategies.com.
I'm Addie.
I'm Hal. Thanks for listening. See you next week on The Impact.